athletic socks pulled over their knees. One oracle spoons mossy grounds into a trio of mismatched cups. Another lifts a kettle from an electric hot plate and sniffs the steam from its spout. The third removes the lid from a red sugar bowl and inspects the contents. The girls hover wordlessly around a steeping tea. Their shoulder blades twitch involuntarily. I'm not supposed to be watching this. There's the click of the lock. The squawk of the rusty hinges sounds as startling as a shipyard whistle. Two of the oracles appear in the doorframe. Their sinewy faces are almost ectomorphic. Their condor eyes survey the crowd and seem vaguely unsatisfied with the tower. Each holds a glass ashtray filled with damp tea leaves. Everyone around me plays it cool, as if they're parishioners at some rogue worship service. But I'm not so suave. My heart starts to sweat. We're ready to begin, the two oracles announce. I'm first in line, but I let the skinhead girl with the bookish glasses take my place. The crowd pushes me into the room behind her, and a flock of us hover along the nearest wall. We observe the main oracle, who sits in the center of the room, a black notebook nestled in the folds of her nightgown. This must be Sarah. There's nothing particularly striking about her chubby figure and greasy brown hair, but she radiates an otherworldly air of detachment. The skinhead girl kneels in front of Sarah's chair. One of the assistant oracles dabs a smudge of brown tea leaves on the girl's forehead. Sarah props a foot on the girl's shoulder and presses her thumb into the spot. Her eyes turn milky white, and her free hand begins to write. The pen moves at its own pace, the strokes slowly accumulating across the page. When the writing ceases, Sarah rips out the sheet with a flourish. The message reads, 22/7/16, Bobby Merlino. It's unclear from the skinhead girl's reaction if the information has significance, but she creases the paper with painstaking care before tucking it inside her plastic billfold. I let the black teenager with the infected nose ring go next. As Sarah enters her trance, I catalog the Spartan contents of the bedroom. Bare mattresses arranged on the wooden floor, oval mirror draped with black velveteen, peeling sea green wallpaper with sun-faded sailboats navigating towards some unknown port. Sarah finishes inscribing the notebook page with a map and marks an X in the upper left-hand corner. The text reads, "This is where you will kill your father." The boy acts unfazed, but his eyes keep blinking at the paper, perhaps hoping a different message will materialize. I signal the man with the grizzled beard to take my place, but one of the assistant oracles seizes my elbow. She motions for me to kneel in front of Sarah, but instead I keep stalling. There's so much that suddenly needs explaining. I want to tell her the history of my life and ask her what destiny the stars have been cooking up for me, but I can't find the syllables. I can only stammer out the most basic information. My name is Jeff Jackson. Sarah's lashes flutter as if she's struggling to bring a strange specimen into focus at the end of a microscope. She appears slightly cross-eyed, her brown orbs unsuitable for everyday tasks. Her semi-blank stare reminds me of a crab whose stalks twitch in the direction of the nearest noise. I kneel in front of Sarah's chair. She splays her legs and places a foot on my shoulder. I glimpse a few curly pubic hairs sticking out like orchid tendrils from the cotton crotch of her panties. One of the assistant oracles applies the warm tea leaves to my forehead. A brown rivulet of resin slips down the tip of my nose. It probably looks like my third eye is weeping. Sarah presses her thumb against the leaves. The spot instantly feels white hot, an intense burning pressure, as if a hole is being bored through the bone of my skull. I bite my tongue to keep from shouting. I focus on Sarah's pen as it moves across the page in swift and soundless strokes. The only noises come from the rhythmless plink of the rain, the jittery clank of the ancient steel radiator, the thin whistle of static from an unseen radio. The pen halts and Sarah tears the page from her notebook and hands it to me. The sheet is blank. A tense murmur wafts through the house. More people squeeze inside the room. Someone asks me to display the sheet, and it produces an eerie silence, as if I were an executioner raising his victim's head above the crowd. Nobody wants to tell me that the last person who received a blank page from Sarah died soon afterwards. Nobody wants to explain that it's akin to drawing a tarot card of the skeleton astride his emaciated steed. One of the assistant oracles leans close and whispers, "I'm sorry." All eyes are set on me. Only Sarah's gaze is elsewhere, transfixed by the coastline of torn paper that clings to the margins of her notebook. There's a brief pause between sections. The blank sheet sticks out of my back pocket. I stand on the lone strip of road and stare up at the oracle's house. A tireless rain spits from the sky and puddles around my feet. My clothes are soggy. My lungs burn. It stings every time I cough. The curtains of the upstairs window are closed, but eventually Sarah will have to show her face. I scoop several handfuls of wet gravel. It's easy to find ammunition here. Everything is in ruins. The rotting porches, fallen tree limbs, incinerated automobile husks. Even the road I'm standing on, an aborted strip of asphalt that runs through the center of the village and evaporates before it reaches the woods. Everything comes apart under your fingernails. My first throw misses by several inches. The second ricochets off the sill with a dull clatter, but the third strikes a direct hit, the pebbles rattling brightly against the second-story window pane. There's no way she's not hearing this. Eventually the curtains part and Sarah appears in the window. She flits there for a few seconds, her plump palm resting flat against the pane. Her gaze runs straight through me as if I'm already dead. I shout her name, but the only thing that answers me is a warm handprint on the glass that's already beginning to evaporate. The wind blusters in a succession of frigid gusts. My face is raw and chapped. My hands won't stop trembling. It feels like I'm coming apart. I launch another fistful of gravel at the window. The stones jangle off the rotten wooden siding, but none of them even scrapes the second floor. Your aim is for shit. It's the skinhead girl. The rest of the road is empty, but the other kids must be watching too. Hosts of them are squatting in the surrounding derelict bungalows. It's easy to imagine their round faces, like balls on strings, suspended in the dirty windows. I let the rest of the pebbles sift through my fingers. You freaked out by the blank page? The girl asks. Of course not, I say. It doesn't have to mean something bad. That's so, she says. Maybe it's like my destiny is still wide open, I say. Nothing's been written yet. Everything is still up to me. That's pretty good, right? So why are you out here in the rain throwing rocks at their window, she says. I start to sneeze. Violent, hunched over, full body sneezes. My eyes are red and watery. My entire body aches. The skinhead girl opens her umbrella and holds it over us. The raindrops thrum against the plastic canopy, and it sounds like all the pebbles I've lofted into the air are slowly tumbling down on my head. Maybe they made a mistake, the girl says softly. It's no big deal, I say, just some old sheet of notebook paper. I pluck the page from my back pocket and stretch it between my hands. I find myself holding it up like a blank billboard towards Sarah's window. My fingers are quivering. You're getting it wet, the girl says. I crush the paper into a wad and toss it on the ground. With the toe of my shoe, I stamp on it and rub it apart. The soggy sheet breaks into smaller and smaller pieces until there's nothing but hundreds of dirty white flecks that resemble the rubbery shavings of an eraser. A small audience of onlookers is gathered on the edges of the road. They stand with eyes averted as if they've just witnessed some tragic event and are trying to downplay its importance. More people leave the abandoned houses and venture into the rainy street in twos and threes, covering their heads with bags and old newspapers. I figure they're coming to offer advice or consolation about the blank page, but they push past me and flock toward the oracle's porch. We all begin to file inside. Time for the nightly concert, the skinhead girl says. Maybe you can talk to Sarah after the show. She grabs me by the wrist and leads me toward the entrance. Everyone is assembled in the living room, huddling on sagging couches, squatting on scratchy wool blankets, standing with backs hugging the plaster walls. A sickly sweet jasmine incense fills the air and masks the stench of stale sweat. A semicircle of candles provides the light. The melted wax marks off the stage area, spreading like tree roots across the warped floorboards. I sit on a coffee-stained sofa, balanced on wobbly box springs that threaten to uncoil. It feels like I'm getting sicker by the minute, alternating between face-reddening fever and teeth-chattering chills. Maybe I really am dying. People's gazes circle back to me with vulturous curiosity. The room hushes. 3 pairs of white athletic socks appear through the slats of the staircase, and then the oracles swish their nightgowns and make a full-bodied appearance. They assume their place at the center of the candlelit circle. The two assistants throw open their arms and announce, "We are the Corines." Muted whoops, muffled applause, a stray whistle. This time the oracles don't seem so imposing. The nylon threads of their pink nightgowns shine from constant wear. Their cuticles are stained ochre from smoking hand-rolled cigarettes. They pick the gum from their teeth. They unfold the tops of their socks and scratch the inflamed insect bites on their calves. They let the silence of the room deepen. Then the Corines shut their eyes, clear their throats, and start to sing. The throats vibrate together in a simple, wordless tune. The voices circle one another according to an undetectable logic until they settle on a single resonant note. The sound builds to an immersive drone. The walls of the room begin to vibrate. It defies understanding how such a huge noise can radiate from the bodies of these three girls. The audience here seems to know what to do. They begin to join the song, fixing their voices to the choir, one person at a time. They start in the far corner and work their way around the room. And soon it feels like I'm in the middle of a hive. With each new voice, the delirious hum grows more intense. Despite myself, I get goosebumps. Tears streak my cheeks. The buzzing inside my chest is perfectly attuned to the vibration of the music. Maybe this song is a sort of funereal requiem. Maybe it's meant for me. Sarah stares purposefully in my direction. An emotional current surges between us that's understood only by the raised hairs on the back of my neck. I begin to tremble. My breathing becomes shallow. I part my lips to join the chorus, but no sound comes out. I'm choking. My throat gags. My arms and legs convulse. My body pitches itself onto the floor. The voices slowly break apart, and a gallery of curious faces hovers overhead, their overlapping shadows smothering me like a blanket. Only Sarah continues to sing, that one blissfully sustained note held by her open mouth.